you again, by the way.
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
Don't act brand new. You know we've done this before.
We have done, never a panel.
Never a panel.
But interviews. I always, I marvel at your shoe game, at your kicks game. Let me ask you, what's your prized possession kicks that you have? And do you rock them, or are they just the stock?
I think it's those high top dunk Dior things they got. I got them for free. So I'm a professional collector of free gifts. That's really what it is.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. Now, I like going way back with actors and their filmography. Do you remember getting your first SAG card?
I do not.
Really?
Remember that? Yeah, no, I was a baby, so the agents were like, "We're gonna do it for you. You'll be fine." And then I came over to the States to try out, see what happens with that.
And here we are.
Yeah, it's been alright still. I'm like,
yeah, there you go. Look, Attack the Block, incredible film. Now that we're getting the sequel officially.
Yes.
This is true, right? It's officially happening. How does it feel to return to Moses after all these years? And what can fans expect from the next chapter without giving anything away, obviously?
Of course. No, it feels fantastic to be back. I think that was my first ever film, my first ever time being in front of the camera, and the movie worked. I mean, we didn't make much money in the box office, but Redbox picked up our film, and all of a sudden there was a cult following in the States. So really, it's the Americans that made our movie exist.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. And because of the buzz of people here in the States, we got enough confidence and enough backing to do a sequel. I mean, what to expect? You know what I mean? It's going to be a bit mad still, you know what I mean? It's going to be crazy.
Now that we have this, I don't want to say resurgence, because like you said, the Americans kind of picked it up and ran with it. Did you ever expect that the legacy of that film would be where it's at now? Because I feel like it's back in the pop culture lexicon, especially with the announcement of a sequel.
No, I didn't expect that. In fact, the first ever screening, which at the time was my first time in LA, I was a bit fearful because...
Really?
Yeah, because I don't know, like, it feels as if over here they're a bit more, political with like movies, and it's strange. I mean, in London we just don't care. Like, just tell your story and roll with it. And I knew that kids get killed in this film because we're more strict. We're like, hey, you're a kid, you make a bad decision, an alien might just eat off your head. You know what I mean? And I was like, I don't know how the audience over here in the States are going to react to that. I don't know if they're going to be like, oh my God, it's kids. But everyone was just like, yeah, fuck yeah.
I mean, that's what I love it. It's such an original idea and shot brilliantly.
Yeah.
When you were on set though, when did it click for you like, we're making something special here? Or did you not feel that at all when you were making it? You're like, it was after the fact.
I guess on set I was busy pretending to be number one on the call sheet who knows what he's doing. And then I was just fixated about just being appreciative for this position in the first place. I had never ever been in that kind of organizational film. So to think that it would be special enough to come over here and people would love it and then we would get a sequel, I couldn't have imagined that, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, no, I couldn't have imagined it. We were kind of making it was local, like we made the movie around areas I grew up, areas I got robbed. So it was kind of like, there's no way we're gonna go off to LA and then have screenings and people in the States were gonna be like, no, we love this movie. So we're just appreciative to even have an opportunity to have a sequel.
That's incredible. Yeah. Absolutely incredible. Look, I want to talk about Pacific Rim for a second. Pacific Rim Uprising. You played the son of Idris Elba's character. You played Jake Pentecost.
Yeah.
Talk to me about working on that film, especially working here in the world of mechs, and doing that film.
Oh, I had an amazing time. I mean, it was so fun. I loved the first Pacific Rim movie.
So much fun.
And obviously, I was just kind of, damn, I wish we could get Guillermo del Toro to just lead us in the second. But we got a good enough replacement, someone who really loved Steve McKnight, who really loved the IP. But it was just good fun. They built the full robot heads of Gypsy Danger and all the mechas. I've always been into Gundam too, so I always, liked the idea of a human being controlling something so powerful. And those things were on hydraulics, so I walked on set and said, "There's a budget, you guys got money." So that was impressive, just showing how we can put something like that all together and make a good sci-fi. It was fun.
I remember doing the press junket for that. It was like walking in to like the world, and I was like, man, they did have money behind that.
Yeah, they did. They did.
When you were on set for that, do you have any fun behind the scenes stories by chance?
I do.
Anything you can share publicly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, an actor's world can be somewhat funny. But yeah, I think that playing around and chilling with Scott Eastwood for me was hilarious because I just told him from the beginning, I don't care about you personally, I care about your father, man. So I'm gonna ask you questions I would ask your dad. and he's a brilliant actor, very charming, very charismatic, so each and every day I'd have questions about his dad. And he'd answer as if it's him. You know, that's how I get my fandom appeased as I go through this career, you know what I mean?
What did you learn about Clint that most people wouldn't know?
Chewing tobacco, maybe something that he used back in the day that he used to do. He likes himself a peach cobbler, doesn't mind that. Grenadine in his Sprite. Look, I know all the information.
I heard that he eats salmon every single day. Is this true?
That's true. Which is that was cool. I understood that. But also still moving, still doing his cardio. You know, a very strong man at his age, and I like that.
That is incredible. Now you're gonna write the book.
I'm writing a book about everybody. I'm just gonna wait until I'm like 86 or something, God willing, and then, you know, expose it all.
One of the #1 articles on our website, Screen Rant, right now, and I wanted to ask you this because I didn't know how true it was, but I gotta ask. The reason that you ended up in Star Wars is because of Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, it's true. Definitely a part of it. That's obviously Tom Cruise is a major influence.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
How'd that happen?
You know, personally, I don't really know. All I do know is that I went to a meeting to meet a dude called Brian Burke, who at the time was working at Bad Robot. I know J.J. Abrams had watched Attack of the Block, and he was kind of like, you know, this kid is pretty darn good. So J.J. showed Attack of the Block to Tom Cruise, he watched it, I went to the office for a meeting, and as I'm waiting to meet this guy Brian, Tom Cruise and J.J. just walk out. And it's funny because they were doing ADR and editing for Mission Impossible at the time. So as the doors opened, I got 5 seconds of like, and the doors closed. And I was like, that was Mission Impossible. And then Tom Cruise just walks out and he goes, hey man, I watched you in Attack the Block. And they're like, yeah, I watched you my whole entire life. And he said, you're good, man. I'm telling JJ one day, he needs to put you in something. And he done the whole Tom Cruise, he needs to put you in something. That's kind of like a threat at the same time. And I'm from South London, so I appreciate that. And then from there, cut then, 5 years later, JJ calls my reps and said, you know, I've got a role for you, but you're gonna have to audition like everybody else, but I'm rooting for you to go through the process and show us what you can do. And that's really how Star Wars came about. It was a long process.
Did you know that you were auditioning for Star Wars?
I did. I found out. Because obviously I have a lot of actor friends and colleagues, and so I was actually putting friends on tape for Star Wars.
Oh, wow.
Like I would help them with their self-tape. And I did a couple of friends self-tape for it, and it was the Poe and Finn scene. This is a rescue, I'm helping you escape. Can you fly a TIE fighter? I said, ooh. And I was like, you know, and it would be other actors auditioning for Finn. Obviously we didn't know who he was at the time. It was called Boy 1 and Girl 1. Obviously that's Finn and Ray. And then all of a sudden I had this feeling that, damn, I've been putting up a lot of friends for this audition. Where's my audition? So I called my agent and said, yo, what's happening? It feels like everybody's going up for Star Wars. There's no restriction on race, size, whatever. So where my audition at? And my agent said, don't worry, in time we'll get you an audition in there. And then the audition came through my agent.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Now, I remember during this time, I'm sure a lot of you folks remember this too, there was so much secrecy around the movies.
Yeah.
I don't think, like, especially in the beginning, not a lot leaked. It was
No.
just very, very secretive. Can you talk about the security levels that were taken, especially during that time on Star Wars?
It was crazy. If you think about it, the afternoon I got Star Wars, it was probably like a Monday or something. On the Tuesday, I came outside of my flat, and it's a convoy of like 4 cars, security saying, you need to move house. You know, we need to move you out of the house and take you to somewhere secure. It's like, am I government now? This is crazy. And it's just because, you know, press, paparazzi, once they get any kind of news that you're in something, and I lived local at that time, I still live with my parents, they're gonna come to your parents' house and ask you some questions. So Disney has a way of making sure that they separate you as you get involved in the process. So you can concentrate on the more important things, which is like lightsaber training, for me, accent training, because I had to do an American accent in Star Wars, not my natural, and so it was just a lot. And then scripts, like, once I booked the part, I was kind of like, can I read the whole entire movie? I want to know if I get to swing the saber, that's what I want to know. You would have to go to Pinewood to read, and then go home. And if you wanted to read an extra additional page, you go off to Pinewood again, which was like an hour, 30 minutes from my house, and then read. So that's how it worked.
How do you prep for a role like that when you're only really allowed to see the lines at Pinewood Studios? How do you prep for that back at home? Are you taking notes of like, all right, this is what happens, these are my lines?
And low key, I took pictures of the pages. I can say that now. I took pictures of the pages. I also wanted to show my sisters too, like, yo, it's legit. It says, Finn carries the lightsaber, ignites it, and charges into battle as Poe gives him air support. Ooh! I have everything. I've been an avid collector of Star Wars gear before I got cast. I mean, I didn't have to go and buy the films and the DVDs and get familiar. I was already there. My Battlefront 1 account was maxed. I was there. And then I was just like, and at the same time I was playing Battlefront 2, at the same time I was like, I think I'm gonna be on the game one day. So I'm gonna keep this, and I might be a DLC coming up, you know what I mean? So I collected so much stuff. When people ask me, you know, did you get your costume from it? I'm like, did I get my costume? I got everybody else's costume as well as mine. I was so like shocked and surprised that a genuine Star Wars fan had been cast in a Star Wars movie. It's kind of like one of life's biggest tricks, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I talked to Simon Pegg recently.
Oh, that's my guy.
He's a huge Star Wars fan too.
Oh, yes.
And he was telling me about the first time that he met Chewbacca. And he just saw Eunice just sitting there, and he was just talking like a regular person. And I think Simon said he was so disappointed. He was like, just do the damn voice.
Yeah, I always tell Eunice, when you're wearing that, I don't want to hear no English whatsoever. You speak to me in Wookiee.
Right, that's what Simon said.
Yeah.
So what was your experience like when you see those first returning cast members, when you see Harrison, when you see Chewbacca? Tell me about that experience for you as John.
What? I saw Chewie and R2-D2 spontaneously came into my final screen test for Star Wars. So I was always reading opposite a guy called Steve. Steve, shouts out to Steve. Steve was enthusiastic, but not at the same time. He would come in, read the lines, do his thing, and go. And the final audition, there was some of the set built for the background of our screen test. I'm not sure if you guys have seen like Robert Downey Jr.'s screen test in the Marvel world and how that works. So the final stage, JJ, we do the scene, it's between me and Oscar, the same scene I've been doing for like damn near 9 months. And then JJ comes out and goes, you know what, we've got another scene, but you're gonna be doing it with a few characters we have. All I hear is, boop, 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 boop. Turn around, R2-D2's just rolling out cash. And by the way, the guy controlling him wasn't there, so it was like really just R2-D2 just like, what's up? And then Chewbacca Jonas was full costume, he walks out, and I was just there for a minute like, yo, JJ, just give me a second. Because this is crazy. So we ran the scenes and my screen tests were with these original characters, and I was absolutely shocked. And then even being with Daisy, me and Daisy was such a hoot. But being with Daisy, we would like, you know, they'll be like, okay, you just come in for a costume fitting and you go home. And we tell our drivers, just give us 10 minutes. We want to run around and get some information. And we would go into the costume department and we saw Mark Hamill as Luke, like in his robe, looking at himself in the mirror. And we were just there like this.
Did he know that you guys were looking at him in the mirror?
No. Because he was doing like Luke Skywalker. You know, you're an actor. You have to get into it, see if the robes and it looks good to what he, you know, remembers. But for us, we just wanted to see him in his element, and I was just like, wow, it's like real Star Wars. Like I would have been in a fake Star Wars if they asked me to. You know, those wacky spin-offs that they do sometimes.
Star Wars parodies.
Yeah, parodies. I would have been in that. But this one was just so legit, and to see the original characters coming down, to see their costumes coming together, it was just kind of like, wow, I wish every Star Wars fan can have this kind of experience.
And what an experience it was, right? Because I felt like that was during the height of like when going to the movies was like a real thing, right? Especially,
Dude,
right?
that was the, and you know, there was a part of it that we had all been waiting years. We hadn't heard a lot from Star Wars for a minute.
Yeah.
And to see that there was a continuing story, you know, even for me as a fan, I was just like, if I don't get the part, I'm still gonna watch it. You know, I might be salty a little bit, but I'm still gonna watch it.
Now, back in the day, I'm sure all of you guys have seen this, there's a lot of behind the scenes footage of the original trilogy. A lot of chemistry reads, there's people like Al Pacino screen tested, a ton of actors screen tested for these roles. Did you guys have to do chemistry tests with different actors?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. Daisy had already got the part before I was cast. And she lied to me. She had already been raped. So they were just constantly auditioning me with Daisy. And I was kind of like, there's no way that they're not bringing any other actress. I think she's got the part. And I kind of, in my final audition, I was like, gave her the eye. I was just kind of like, you've got the part already. And she was just like, so Daisy, I know you got the part. And so in connecting to your co-stars in that process, you don't really know whether they've been cast or not. Obviously Disney just want to see if you've got great chemistry.
Sure.
Now with Poe, there were at least 3 actors that I had auditioned opposite.
Anybody we would know?
Yeah, but you know, when they business out there, they lost, you know, they lost the Oscar. Yeah, it will eventually come out. I just don't want it to be me. But there were some really good actors. But at the end of the day, at that stage, they're not really looking to see if you're a good actor. You made it that far, they know you're good. But chemistry is one thing. But as soon as me and Oscar done the scene, I turned to JJ and said, ain't no way you're gonna cast anybody else. This was fun. You know, there was so much banter. I think the cameras still rolled on us even after our scenes. And
really?
me and Oscar just talk shit all day. So they're just seeing that back and forth. And the casting directors, producers, all the big Disney dogs are behind the camera going, we love this. This is good. And so from then, that chemistry, it was a no-brainer that Oscar was the best Poe for me. You know
That's
what I mean?
amazing.
Yeah.
Incredible. I have a question about Finn in particular, because how much of the character is explained to you when you first got the role, and how much of that changes with each film that came out?
I think when I first got the role, it was very clear who Finn was, that he was a stormtrooper that defected, and he was somehow going to join the fight with the rebels. And that to me, I had never heard of that kind of narrative in the Star Wars universe, or to be fixated on as a lead in the Star Wars universe. So for me, I was just kind of like, this is shocking and surprising. But in terms of like accent, maneuver, the way he runs, the way he talks, I'm not really like that.
Sure.
So I'm more of a character actor. So that's something that I had to build with JJ. And one of the first things I told JJ, I said, I'm reading these lines, I get it, but I want to be the audience in Star Wars. I want to be, if you just picked one of these people from the crowd and put them in a real life Star Wars scenario, I want to react like them. I want to be the one that says, what, they fly now? I want to be the one that says, are you the rebellion general that went on you? I want to be the fan in the movie.
Right.
And that was, that was the vibe. And then also discussing that, Finn lies at the beginning of the film. And I was kind of like, I want to lie in a charismatic way. I'm part of the resistance. I want to be a dude that thinks he's something,
Sure.
but isn't necessarily that, just to give people more of a human journey within Star Wars, whereas the other characters are more where they're brave for no reason, like they will go into the fight without nothing. I wanted to be a character that felt like he had to go through a journey throughout these 3 movies to even gain the confidence, to be a part of the universe in that way.
One thing that I always have loved about Star Wars is the immersion. I feel that like once you're on one of those sets, you feel like you're on one of those sets, right?
Crazy.
And this is before the volume, by the way.
Dude.
This is before that. So talk to me about stepping onto the set and like what it feels like, what it felt like for you stepping onto that set and that immersion you got.
I would compare it to my first day of shooting. Of course, we had been at Pinewood rehearsing, and while you're rehearsing, the only thing that was like slightly Star Warsy was the fact that they gave us, at first we rehearsed with wooden sticks for the sabers, and then they came in with like a case, and they opened the case, and then the guy with the remote, because the lightsabers on set are remotely handled by other people, and they also change the colors and stuff like that. They ignited my saber right in front of me and said, today you're gonna be rehearsing with this. And that for me was just kind of like, wow, like this is official. But to then go to Abu Dhabi and to do my first scenes in the desert, it's like a 45-minute drive from my hotel. I get to the set, I see a lot of smoke and fire. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And as soon as we get over the hill, I see a crashed, real-life, full-size TIE fighter skidded into the sand and like all this gear around it. And I was just kind of like, wow, this is real Star Wars. You know, it took me a minute to know that I was in the real Star Wars movies. I thought that JJ was playing a prank on me. That's why if you watch the behind the scenes of Star Wars, of me reacting to the Falcon, and JJ comes out and says, I told you were in Star Wars. The whole time I said, JJ, this is not really Star Wars, right? This is something else.
Like a bad robot film?
Yeah, it's like a bad robot film. It's well budgeted, but it's kind of like still a parody.
Right.
But there were just certain things that you could not deny. A life-size Millennium Falcon, all these rebels running around, and the animatronics and the creatures. I was like, this is real incredible. Shouts out to the stage people and stage set design. Incredible.
That's incredible. That's awesome. Yeah, let's hear that. I know you're an avid collector of Star Wars stuff. What's your most prized possession?
Oh, what's my most prized? Oh, I have a figure of Harrison Ford in a Stormtrooper suit. Don't ask. And Harrison Ford's designer and makeup guy is actually good at editing figures. So he made it look more like Harrison, gave Harrison the scar that he has on his chin. And then I just walked around set with this big figure. If you watch the behind the scenes of the making of, you probably would have seen me with this big figure at all times. And I would just go from actor to actor and just be like, can you sign it? I got Harrison, I've got Carrie, I've got Anthony Daniels, everybody. I think I down there even got an extra on set that looks slightly like Kid Fisto. I was like, oh. I need your signature, dude. He's like, I'm not a famous actor. You are now. So I would go around with all my trinkets, having them sign it. But that Harrison Ford figure, that's my prized possession.
That's incredible. Look, I gotta ask you, because Harrison Ford, I've met him a handful of times, and he has a presence to him.
Hey, he's that guy.
He is that guy.
Yeah, he's gonna be in a plane crash and land next to doctors.
Yeah, he's that guy.
He's incredible.
When you first meet Harrison Ford, what goes through your mind? And then second, what did you learn from him as an actor?
I met Harrison when he was in a training session. And so the first thought is not gonna be as stereotypical as it would be. The first thing I thought was, damn, he's got great legs. And he was running, he was full speed.
So he was in shorts.
Yeah, and he was sprinting on this treadmill and just like training and getting at it. And I was like, wow, he's old, but he's got like that old man strength, you know?
Yeah.
Have you ever shook an older guy's hand when they got the salt and pepper and there's that strength that they got? You're like,
where'd that come from?
Yeah. He had that kind of vibe. And as an actor, it's just the ease, you know, he is well prepared. He doesn't forget his lines. He is the character. So when he walks in, there is this aura of even people at the crew just going, that's Han Solo. Like, you know, the only thing that's different is the shitty Starbucks cup he has in his hand. Get rid of that. It's Han Solo, you know what I mean? And that to me was, you know, just incredible. Really, really inspirational guy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You also worked with the legendary Carrie Fisher.
Yes.
Let's give it up for Carrie. Share your favorite memories of working with her, because I know behind the scenes she was a lot of fun.
No, she's great fun. I mean, Carrie would give me snacks when I was supposed to be on my diet. She would tell me how to handle, bad feedback. She would be very, very honest about what the experience would probably be like. And she was always just genuinely herself, and I liked that. I didn't know that she was that outspoken, that charismatic. I didn't know that. But if you know about her writing career, you would know that she is very articulate and smart. And that for me was incredible to witness. But also because I was a little favorite, her favorite son. I'm saying. And that felt good because I could go into Carrie Fisher's trailer, get me a Kit Kat and the endless cans of cola she had in there. You know what I mean? Like she was really open and chilled with me from the beginning.
And she's so quick-witted.
Oh, at all times. I remember when she would be giving notes and the quick comebacks. I'd be like, nah, Carrie, I need to take you to the hood. You all right? You know what I mean?
I love that. Now, I love the fact that you still love Star Wars even after all this time. Because there's so many people that are part of sometimes their dreams, and then it doesn't quite turn out what they expected it to be. Talk to me about your relationship with Star Wars, and has that changed at all since being in the movies and then being a fan?
No, it hasn't at all.
Good.
I just think that it's really weird when you say stuff and it goes through the filter of hungry journalists who need to have their blogs noticed. Sometimes they articulate things that are far-fetched from the truth. So wherein in life we can be two things at once. I can hate a certain element of it but still love it. I think that's what Star Wars is about. Why would we be debating about what we dislike if we dislike the whole entire thing? We just would be like, that's trash, we don't care. But we debate as Star Wars fans. We go back and forth about things because we love it and we want it to be treated well. That doesn't mean that you just completely lose or like for it. You know, I would say how I honestly felt and go home and pick Battlefront 2 just to feel better. Yeah, you know? So it's that relationship I've always had with Star Wars. But I also believe that when it comes to the creative journey of Star Wars, like all of the fans here, you gotta do right by what we know of the lore, of the characters, and what we expect to be, you know, the top of entertainment and the best space opera in the world. You know
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Star Wars movie that you're not in?
You have to break that up with me. You have to go sequels first, and then prequels, and then originals. I can't do one overall. It's impossible.
Okay, what's your favorite of the prequels? I have a feeling.
Revenge of the Sith. I told Hayden the other day, I was with Hayden last week. I said, bro, are you kidding them kids, man? The children. And he was like, yeah. It was something about that, the emotion of it, the crescendo of this is the end, and then his transition into Darth Vader for me was epic and to witness. The originals, I would say Return of the Jedi.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, listen, Disney Plus is putting out such fantastic Star Wars stories. I mean,
Yeah.
I love Skeleton Crew, I think Andor's
Skeleton Crew was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah. Listen, it felt cool, yeah. Yeah, not only that, I also love the fact that it doesn't have to rely on the Star Wars iconography. It's just a good story, right? It pays tribute to pirates at 733.
And I like the Goonies aspect to it. Yeah, that was real cool.
Which one of do you have a favorite Disney Plus Star Wars series?
I do, that Mandalorian, that's my favorite. This is the way, that's just cool. Shouts out to Pedro, man, you done a great job at that. I really, really enjoyed Mandalorian.
Now, we know that Daisy's coming back for a Star Wars film.
She is?
Have you talked to her about this at all?
Maybe.
Maybe. No. Let me ask you this. Do you think that you have unfinished business with Finn, and is there still more you'd like to explore with the character?
Yeah. That would be fun to do, but contractually, I'm on 3 movies, and then after that, we don't know what's happening until, you know, they give you a few calls and say you should come back and all that kind of stuff. And because of the whole storm after Star Wars, I think Disney felt a little bit like, does he still want to, you know, be a part of it? I'm like, damn, I can like this franchise and still tell you that certain elements wasn't, you know, all the way there. It doesn't remove your love for the whole entire franchise. So it's, for me, that everybody knows it's dependent on treating the character well. It's dependent on fulfilling the arc that was teased quite a lot during the process. And hopefully this time it's them approaching it by having a plan of what they're gonna do throughout the whole series. Basically, they need to Kevin Feige that shit.
Sure. No, that's fair. I feel like that's something that comes up all the time when I talk about that.
Yeah.
Just from a fan perspective, being John, watching your Star Wars movies, which one's your favorite?
Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Force Awakens. Sometimes, my lady said, sometimes I'll just turn on the Millennium Falcon chase scene. Just to remember what that was like, and then watching it for the first time and just being like, this is fun. I feel like it's like space Top Gun. You know, there's something about it that's just so cool, you know. So Force Awakens will always have a special place in my heart because it's the first Star Wars movie that came back after I was waiting for the next Star Wars movie, and then I just so happened to be in it, you know, which is a crazy combination.
Now, I have a feeling your answer, I think I know what your answer is going to be, but do you have a favorite movie that you shot, the Star Wars movie you shot? I'm assuming it's Force Awakens.
It's Force Awakens, man. Yeah. I
Favorite
mean,
scene?
we were new to all of it. I mean, a favorite scene would be us running through the desert and then finally pulling up to the Falcon. That was that was crazy. I mean, also because it was like young kids of a new generation calling the Falcon that shit. So disrespectful. You know what I mean? I just love that element of it. You know, even me saying that line after me and Daisy would be out of breath and would be like, yo, did you think that was good? She'd be like, yeah, I think we look like heroes, you know, running. I'm like, yeah, we do. And we'd just be like, Daisy, we're running towards the Millennium Falcon and we're about to ride it as if it's like a car driving test. You know, there's something really cool about that, and it gives the element of now they're packaging Star Wars for a new generation, and that to me gives an IP that I love more life and more longevity. You know,
I love that. We do have some pre-submitted fan questions that I have for you. This one's from Caroline from Allentown, Pennsylvania. She asks, if Finn had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, a theme song?
Yeah. Kind of like how wrestlers have been. John Cena was here yesterday.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you guys like that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Give me the official Rebel music. Dum 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 dum.
I just
picture because like, you know, to go from Stormtrooper to Rebel, give me the theme music. I made the biggest choice in it. I don't get the Empire pension. You know, I'm on the pension money. So give me the Rebel theme tune with a little bit of, you know, snaz in there, you know what I mean?
Fanexpo, if you're listening, next time we have John on any panel,
give me the Rebels, yeah, give me the Rebels.
All right, let's see, we got, this one is from Julia R. from Allentown, Pennsylvania. She asks, what was it like finding out you got cast in Star Wars? Did they have like a special reveal to you? Like, oh, like, no, just,
no,
hey, John, you got the role.
It was JJ in a very expensive coffee shop. In which one half of the restaurant was full with members of the public, and the other half that JJ was in was just completely empty, and he was just sitting at the corner around a very small table with his glasses on and his phones out, and useless cubes of sugar all over the table for some reason. And then I just walked in, sat down, and he said, you know, I'm really grateful for you doing this because I definitely had the longest audition out of everybody else. And he said, I thank you for sticking to it. I'm like, look at this dude thanking me for sticking to auditioning for Star Wars. Like, where else was I gonna do? And he just said, you know, you're the new star of Star Wars. And for me, everything froze. And at that moment when he said that, the reveal was Larry Kasdan walking out. And he said, kid, this is gonna change your life. And that's what, you know, that's that American shit. You know what I mean? That's that, oh yeah, you know, that's that motivational, you know, you feel like you're about to get into something that's bigger than you know. And then I went home, walked to my agent's office, told my agent that I had booked the part. Everybody had bottles of champagne going. I was like, ooh, stop the celebration. I gotta go home and tell my mum and dad why I've been sneaking out for 9 months and not telling them where I've been going. I didn't tell them. No, I didn't tell them nothing. I didn't want to lose the part.
What, like, they wouldn't keep it a secret?
No. I'd be like, Auntie, yeah, John is auditioning for Star Wars. yes. He might get the role. Yes. So I couldn't have that happen. So I did go home and then told them, okay, I am not a drug dealer. I have not joined a criminal organization. The reason why I've been leaving in and out from the house is because I've been auditioning for Star Wars for the last 9 months, and I finally booked the part. My mom was just like, ah! My dad was just like in his robe. He just came from the bathroom, had a toothbrush in his mouth. He said, what is Star Wars? What is it? That we'll get to that later, but I'm just telling you, it's like the biggest. It's a very, very, very big film. So I just had to come home and tell him that. But I did tell the taxi driver that took me from central London to my parents'
He was the first person.
The taxi driver, I don't know where he is, but one day, I've mentioned him so many times, but one day if you see this, bro, show yourself, man. It's coming across as if I'm lying at this point. But I got in the taxi and I was so excited and I just said, guess what, mate? He goes, what? I've just been cast in Star Wars, mate. Lead role. He goes, oh, well done, mate. At least we never said Star Wars, give me this ride for free. I'm glad. You know what I mean? Like,
at least we know you keep a secret, though.
No, he genuinely kept the secret. Like, nothing came out. But I had to tell at least one random person who just didn't catch. You know, I had to. But I know he's out there somewhere going, "Love, I was the driver that day." Yeah, so I make sure I let him
I
know.
think he's signing autographs now, saying I was the driver. That...
Honestly, if he's out there, man, thank you for holding the secret. But I just had to tell you, bro. I had to.
I love that. I gotta ask you about They Clone Tyrell, because I love that film.
Oh,
I think it's so good. Yeah, right? So much range in that. I love content, and I love that it's like a genre blended film.
Yeah.
But if you could clone yourself, what task would you want that clone to do that you don't want to do anymore?
Ooh, this is a good long list. So, I'd have a clone to do the acting work. Then I'd have a clone to go to the cons, to the conventions. I'd have one out here in costume, go out to the convention, get me the stuff that I like, and get Andy Serkis to sign something. I just have clones to just do different things that I would rather, do at certain times when I'm working. Because these movies take long to shoot. I have a production company now, so the development process is a grueling, long process. So I'd have a clone for that too. You know what I mean? The original, I'm gonna be at home chilling. The rest of them to work for you. You know what I mean?
I love that. Now, John, have you ever wanted to direct?
No.
No, it's not something that interests you.
But it's something that's coming up because of my slate and the ideas that I've been able to cultivate between the actors I know and the projects that we have coming up. These projects is cool, It's just a longer process when you are the ones developing it. But yeah, it depends.
With your production company, what kind of projects are you looking for in championing?
It's a range of projects, from historical dramas to sci-fis, of course, which everyone knows that's home for me, to African-inspired stories from that continent specifically. We got to get back to the roots now. And then obviously Attack the Block 2 is a part of that too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we'll be co-producing along with Naira Park and Joe. Everybody is coming back on it. Because originally I just was walking across Westminster Bridge and I saw this guy on a police horse. And in London we still have horses with the police, don't we? You know what I mean? And once I saw that, I was kind of like, man, Moses on top of a police horse. I like that. So I was like to Joe, I was like, this is the image I'm getting. Joe was like, yep, I'm gonna start writing it. I'm gonna start writing this, whatever this story is, based on this one image I got. So your mind is continually searching and looking for ideas, and that's something I really, really enjoy doing.
I love that. I actually think that's a great exercise for any writers. Just write it down, jot it down in your notes, and put it together later on.
No matter what it is. I had this dude on the plane the other day that told me a story about his life, and I was like, I think I want to make that, maybe. I might play you, you know what I mean? And so for me, it doesn't care. I don't care where the idea comes from. Ideas and people's lived experience can be great movies, So it's across all genres, and much like They Clone Tyrone, where a project like that was to show range.
Yes.
It's about range. I like old school acting, where it's got nothing to do with who I am in real life, and everything to do with who the character is in front of the camera.
Yeah, I was blown away by that performance. I was like, dude, that's incredible.
Thank you.
Back to these fan questions. This is from Andrew K. from Red Bank, New Jersey. He asks, is there a genre you haven't tackled yet you'd like to try next?
Oh, a romantic comedy. Yeah. Romantic comedy. I want to fall in love with someone fine on screen too. Hey, Lucia, come on now. There we go. Great actress that has a natural beauty would be fantastic, but a great romantic comedy is something that I would love to do, and I'll stay British in that one.
There you go.
Yeah.
I feel like you have to. It's British.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's all important.
Set it during Christmas time.
All of that. I was even thinking of what film was I watching the other day? The Preacher's Wife with Denzel and Whitney Houston.
Great film.
I like that vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something like that would be cool.
And we don't get a lot of romantic comedies nowadays in theaters, right?
Yeah, we don't. But
streaming.
where there's a will, there's a way. Yeah, I mean, the development process, I have read a few romantic comedies that will be coming out. And, Hollywood's, they're starting to listen a little bit. That the audience, we want more. We want more originals. We want more.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Is there a, I mean, Star Wars is one of the biggest franchises ever. Is there a franchise that you'd like to be a part of that you haven't been yet? Whether it be Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings?
Look, I play an orc in Lord of the Rings.
What?
An orc.
You want to play or you?
I would play an orc in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah? We're gonna send that audition tape in. I know Andy Andy's doing the next.
Andy's doing the next one. Look, just put me in there. I don't need to be a lead. I just be an orc. I catch an arrow. My day done. You know what I mean?
Getting a whole bunch of autographs.
Oh yeah.
Mikey O from Newark, New Jersey asks, "What do you like to do to unwind after a long day on set?"
PlayStation 5.
Yeah. What game in particular?
Well, right now I'm playing the Star Wars season on Fortnite. If you got killed by the maxed out. So it would be Fortnite. If Oscar is there, we're gonna have to play Street Fighter because the dude is obsessed.
Really?
Yeah. All throughout Star Wars, we were playing Street Fighter.
Who's his main?
I think he used what's the
Blanca?
Blanca, yeah, that's his guy. I use whoever, the whoever. I'm not that great at fighting games.
Really?
But obviously, if you want to beat me up, Oscar, okay. You know, so we would play that. So it's gaming. I watch movies, chill, relax, read, go see family, go out to the club in there. Be up in the sections, just chilling. You know, just a variety of things.
There you go, multifaceted. Killian G from Pennsylvania asks if you could play a superhero, whether Marvel or DC, who would you want to play and why?
I don't know. Especially when they say Marvel and DC, I don't know. I think everything is so filled right now.
Sure.
Seeing Robert Downey even come back, I'm like, bloody hell, like, it's a lot of people. So at this point, I don't know. If you asked me a few years ago, everybody would have said Black Panther. But now it would totally just depend on what's even available. But outside of Marvel and DC, give me Hancock. I want to play Hancock.
Oh, that's great.
Give me Hancock's son. You know, someone is just, Hancock's son or someone. I've always liked Will in that.
That's great. I know you're a bit of a. You said you're a Gundam fan.
Yeah.
Would you like to see any anime brought to life?
Oh, nah. See, I'm a bit sensitive with live action anime. I think
I feel a lot of people are.
Yeah. It's a lot to handle. But if they stick to the rules, cast the right type of actors, I would love to see Attack on Titan live action. But like, I know there is one. I think it's a Chinese one that they got. But I'd want to see that. I want to see that USA, how they will handle that. You know, that would be cool. That would be cool to see.
Now, your experience on Star Wars playing Finn, what did you learn about yourself through the process of playing Finn and being on those sets?
That if Finn was John, there would be no Finn in 3 of those movies. I'm not doing all of that. I'm not doing all of that. I'm gonna put my hands up and say, hey, Ray, I'm not coming with you. This is ridiculous. I probably wouldn't have broken out Poe from there. I would have just done my job and went home. I'm gonna chill. You know what I mean? And that's what I learned about myself. I'm like, JJ's like, no. Finn goes to rescue, like goes to try and get her. I'm like, really? I mean, Kylo's already got Rey in the shit. What's the point of screaming her name and going down there? Finn has a heart. Okay, JJ. I just felt like, Kylo already got her. We'll figure it out later, all right? There's no need to. She's a Jedi. She'll be all right.
Oh man, talk to me about working with J.J. Abrams. This guy's a brilliant director.
Brilliant.
He knows how to shoot anything.
He does.
Talk to me about working with him.
Just fantastic. I think that JJ became our caretakers through such a long process. I mean, today I've never auditioned for something that took so long. I mean, 9 months is an incredibly long time. And through that, as a director, you kind of have to motivate your actors as you're going through this very long process. That could end up being that you do 9 months of auditioning and then you just don't get the part. And I think that with that being a possibility, JJ was perfect in handling us during that process. But also on a personal front, he always checks in. He'll email you randomly from time to time saying, where are you? Come down to the office, let's go and get a cheesesteak or something. He's like really just down to earth, chill guy who just really loves movies and is a fan of movies. And a great advocate as well for various things that people don't even know about that he's quite involved in, a people person. So he's a cool guy, man.
Another one is Ryan Johnson. I think that dude's a brilliant storyteller.
Yeah.
I love Poker Face. I love
yeah.
I love what's a murder mysteries movies.
Well, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
What's it? Onion?
Knives Out. There you go. Knives Out.
Knives Out. Yeah.
Talk to me about working with Ryan Johnson and his approach to filmmaking.
It was different with Ryan coming in because Ryan had his own edge and his own creative freedom, which I really freaking actually loved because it represented an expansion to the Star Wars universe where the creative didn't all have to be the same.
Sure.
As you compare the Disney Plus shows, Mandalorian, Ahsoka, you can tell there's a different texture to each one. There's a different creative brain behind each one. And usually you think that you're not going to be able to do that within the Star Wars universe, but Ryan, with his taste, he, brought that in there. And I've always said publicly, I would have loved for more of that for Finn to be a beneficiary of more of that. But to have a director come in and to have that freedom, it made me feel as a fan that we're going to get Star Wars movies that are from different perspectives a little bit. And I think that that's quite enjoyable.
Yeah, and also I feel like that opens up to where we are with Star Wars now, especially on these Disney Plus series, right?
Yeah.
Totally, some of these are so different, but it fits in the same way.
I would say,
Yep.
let's get back to the movies, guys.
Yeah, let's get back to the movies. On that note, though, I think that's a great place to end. If you want to meet John, he's going to be at his booth later, yeah?
Yeah.
Meet John, get a picture, get an autograph.
Yeah.
You're a fantastic dude. Thank you so much for doing this.
Hey, thank you, Peter.
Thank you guys for coming out. We appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Thank you.